Good evening, everyone. Welcome to lfctransferroom. I'm here tonight, joined by Justin, Dean, and Stu to discuss the point we've got at Anfield against Man City. Now, in the 97th minute, I thought so many points that I want to bring up. You know, all the youngsters, the performances from Diaz, Nunez, McAllister, everyone, Kelleher even. But then, as Stu said right before us going live, then Bruce Lee came on, did kicked Maka in the chest, in the box, and somehow that was fine. Um, I think what hurts the most is probably remembering the 2019 and 2022 titles that we've lost. We were 1 point behind City at that time as well. So this happening now again in a game like this, where we honestly, after that second half, we could count ourselves unlucky for not getting a win up until that point, is, well, it hurts a bit. But we'll just get into all the other points that we can tonight. Justin, how are you, mate?
I'm good. I'm good. I'm feeling. Before the game, I would have taken a point, but after seeing how the game actually went down, I have mixed feelings about it. I think we should have won, even outside of the last minute penalty call. I think we should have definitely taken some advantages, some of those chances. We should have taken our opportunity as well. So mixed feelings.
Yeah, it was a game of two halves, I was thinking, towards the end, because in the first one, I think City were a bit better overall, but then in the second, we just, yeah, we could have probably used someone like Jota today, a bit more clinical, someone who could probably get a goal out of half a chance, and probably, and maybe if it was Jota and not Diaz on the end of some of those chances, maybe we would have won anyways. But you know, it is what it is. Dean, what about you, mate?
I'm in a glass case of emotion, so many mixed feelings. I say, as you already said before the game, you would have taken a point, and now he's sitting here like, oh, we should have had three. But you know what? We couldn't really ask much more. The team played the hearts out, especially second half. But yeah, overall, I'm still content. It's still in our hands, in my eyes, because Arsenal go away to City. Just win our games, and we'll see it through. That's all I can ask for the lads. But proud of the team, really are.
Yeah, I think that's like the biggest problem out of it now, because we going into this one, I think all of us were I would be fine with a point, but now seeing the way it actually turned out, you just can't help but wonder. Stu, your thoughts?
Firstly, I think like sort of right from the back to the front, every single player played their hearts out today. They put in 110% effort. I think a special shout out again. I mean, last time when I was on the podcast, I mentioned Harvey Elliott. He has been outstanding these last couple of weeks, but I want to give another special mention out to Jarell Quansah. He's playing like he's got 300 games under his belt. I know he's playing alongside Van Dijk, and obviously Van Dijk's guiding him because he's a young lad and all that sort of stuff. But he's playing like a seasoned pro. He's up against one of the best strikers in the world. And yeah, okay, Haaland always seems to play quiet against us, but he is one of the best strikers. Nobody can deny that in the world. And between him and Van Dijk, they absolutely bossed him today. He didn't have a word in edgeways, especially when he went one-on-one with Van Dijk as well, and he just didn't get anywhere. I mean, that was just class defending all around. Yes, I am gutted at the result. I did want the win. I thought we should have had the win probably after the first half an hour of the game. I thought City were on top, but after that, I think it was all us. Diaz could have had two or three. And he really should have done more than anything else. But I mean, hats off to the lads. They did. It's always going to be a tough game against City every single time. We know what it's like. It's just repetition every single time. It's always going to be a blood and guts, tackles going in, tough game. But we got a point, so we move on to the next one. which would be Brighton, I believe. I think it's the next fixture in the league after the United game and the international break. Brighton at home, okay, could be a slightly tricky game. We seem to struggle against them sometimes, but I don't know. I kind of got a good feeling about this year. Just something that's telling me that we're going to be all right and we are actually going to get that title. Fingers crossed.
Yeah, I remember actually I was discussing it with Damon on the post match stream against Sparta. It's like, I think after all those seasons where we've missed the title by a point, after the Champions League final in 2018 where we were unlucky with the Karius mistakes, after the 2022 final in the Champions League where we've just had chance after chance after chance, but then Courtois was just in one of those days, probably performance of a lifetime. I think it has to come around at some point, right? This season, with all these mistakes, we know what happened against Spurs, we know what happened against Arsenal, Anfield, and now tonight as well. Some blatant refereeing mistakes, but I feel like it has to come around at some point. If we miss the title by a point again, I think I can't deal with it anymore. So it cannot happen. Positive thoughts only. So yeah, thank you everyone in the comments for leaving your comments. Make sure to please keep on doing so. We'd love to hear from you, and we'll obviously take some of those comments and integrate them into the conversation as well. Up next, I'd want to ask you a bit more on the game, your thoughts overall, maybe a bit more in-depth look on things, on how they've unfolded. I think, again, as Stu said there at the end, and Dean as well, I think in the heat of the moment, I remember I wanted to just say, like, Diaz, you're just killing me, man. But then after, half an hour after the game, I just remembered Diaz's performance, and I just thought, he kind of ran his lungs out. Like, how mad can I really be at him? At the end of the day, that's what you want from your players, to put in the work. And then realistically, he was a bit unlucky. He could have scored maybe with a bit more composure, but then, in that fraction of a second, I think just things don't always go your way. So, I think we can all of us, we can appreciate the effort. So then, Justin, your thoughts overall on the game. Who were the top performers of the night, and can you give me 3 names for man of the match for us?
Okay, so there were a few performances that are worth noting. I'll start from the back. I honestly thought Kelleher was really, really, he had to put in a top shift today. And there was something that we were talking about in the group chat earlier this week. Kelleher's ability on his weaker foot is so good when we are trying to get out of a sticky situation in the back. He clears it with his left. He's comfortable with both feet, so that was on display a lot today. I watched these things with a lot of detail. Allison, his left foot sometimes. I mean, he slips. He it's so shaky that you don't know what you're gonna get from him sometimes. Kwanzaa was really good. Composure. I only saw about 2 moments where I felt like just 2 little mistakes in terms of the passing. And he had some issues with Doku when he was isolated 1v1. McAllister, brilliant. Exactly what we needed in the midfield. The brain of that midfield. Really good shift. And the work rate, pressing, getting back the ball, top shift. Endo was so good, screening the defense, just getting those nitpicking at those at the ball whenever he can, and just throwing off the city a lot. Diaz, Darwin, top. They just put in so much work today. Salah, one of his very first touches, the pass to Diaz. Elliott, so good. He gave us a lot of control in the midfield in the first half, in particular, before Salah came on. So yeah, if I had to pick 3 names for man of the match, I'm going to put McAllister in there, Virgil, and that last one. I'm going to go. I probably have to go with Harvey.
Yep, definitely top performances by everyone, and I think I did forget to mention Van Dijk as well. How good was he tonight as well? Today, sorry, afternoon, whatever time zone are you're in. I think it was just the one ball that Holland basically got off of him when he basically came from in behind. But then, like, I don't think he put a foot wrong the whole game. Imperial from Van Dijk as well, setting the standards for the rest of the side. Dean, mate, your thoughts on the game, and who do you think was the top performer today?
Well, first half was very even, you think. City with a slightly better side in the first, 30, 40 minutes. But as soon as the game started to settle down, it started to dictate the midfield, started to come into its own. Endo and McAllister, especially them two. Szoboszlai played very well, considering he was only on the pitch for an hour. But the other two, he forced Kevin De Bruyne off the pitch. He forced Pep Guardiola to remove arguably the best midfielder in the world off the pitch because he realised we're getting dominated here. And that's just a massive testament to what them two have done in this game. The second half, especially, we just controlled it all. We made City look average. And that's with 8 first-team players out. That's just crazy. Important players as well, missing. So you can't, then two are definitely in my man of the match running, just because they were vital to how we played today. Like I said, on paper, you're up against Rodri, De Bruyne, and Bernardo Silva, and you're going, oh my lord, this is going to be a right test. And they passed it with flying colours, in all honesty, especially the 50 minutes or so of the second half. Defensively, I think, like I said, Kwanzaa, as we mentioned, composed, question marks before the game. We were all worried because Konate out injured. He stepped up. It didn't look like he was missing. It didn't look like Konate was missing. Kwanzaa was fantastic. Like a couple little minor blips, but you're up against City. It's going to be a difficult test, and he passed for flying colours again for me. Bradley, I think, was brilliant for the hour he played. He was knackered when he came off, worked his absolute arse off. But Van Dijk, as you mentioned, absolute furious, won everything. Only one moment where the ball was nicked from him, but it didn't come to anything. The only thing that probably lacked, as we mentioned already, is the front line. Just from clinical nature, we didn't have one. Darwin frustrated the hell out of me. Was it 6 times he was offside? Okay, he had to play on the edge. We had to constantly try playing behind, so it's understandable. But he just needs to sort that out. He got in behind multiple times, and if he just held his run that little bit, he could have just got in and made an opportunity for himself. More than that, Diaz, I'm surprised he was walking off the pitch. Then runs he was making second half, then got busty runs, absolutely brilliant. I just wish him and Gakpo were both clinical. Gakpo had that chance towards the end where he just hit it, screaming, shoot, just shoot, and he ends up passing it. He doesn't end up going anywhere. Salah looked bright considering he's not fully match fit. Of course, he's world class. But yeah, for me, overall, it was all on the midfield today to carry that team back and forth, and they passed easily, and they made probably on paper the best midfield, arguably in the world on paper. They made them look average. Fair play to them.
And how interesting that is when you think about how Endo was signed, or Wataru Endo was signed in the summer. There were, huge question marks. I remember maybe even someone like myself, if I remember correctly, in the chat saying that, we went cheap and we sacrificed, big signing. But this is where we are. We got Wataru Endo, who's arguably, let's say, as good as Lavia and Caicedo combined. But, that's not... maybe that's not even a matter of debate anymore. So, yeah. Stu, your thoughts on the game, on who performed best on Endo tonight?
Endo, I think is definitely becoming one of my fan favorites. I think it has hats off to Jörg Schmatke. He found him for that price. What was it, 13, 14 million that we paid for him? And what a bargain! I mean, yeah, okay, he's 30 years old now, so he's coming on to the end stage of his career. He couldn't end up being our Japanese Milner quite easily. He is an absolutely outstanding player, and you're right. He bossed that midfield. But I think for me, more than anything, and I've been made to eat my words a little bit this when I've been having discussions with my mates and stuff like that about McAllister. I wasn't entirely sure when we signed McAllister. Yeah, we got him for a good price. How good he actually was, and where his best position was. Now, definitely his best position is a little bit further forward in that central midfield. He is not an Endo type player. I think we all know that, but he can still do a job there. But I didn't quite realize how composed he was. I mean, there was points in the game today where he was surrounded by 3-4 City players, and he just dinked it out. So it took 3-4 players out of the game, and we're back on the counter attack, especially in that second half. And again, what a deal! Again, what was it, 35-40 million we spent on him, which in today's market is nothing for a world-class World Cup winning central midfielder. And yeah, I think between those two, they absolutely controlled the game from, I'd say probably from about the 25th, 30th minute, something like that. And yeah, thoroughly impressed with them both. I can't pick or choose between the two. I think they're both I think they're bouncing off each other really, really well, and they're getting a decent partnership. The only question in my mind now is, and it's slightly going away from the midfield, is Bradley at right back. Defensively, we look better. Where does Trent come into it? That is a big question for me.
Interesting question, and funnily enough, one of our next topics actually. And you know what? I'm gonna let you answer that question right now, and I'm gonna start with you on this topic. I think arguably now, if you look at Liverpool with Trent and Liverpool with Bradley, we are actually a bit more compact in defense with him in there. Now, we obviously missed the creativity, you could argue, and I think, I've always said in the past few seasons, I think Trent was one of the best creators in the Premier League. Probably number wise, he was up there with De Bruyne and with Bruno Fernandes as well. So obviously, you could say we missed the creativity, but somehow we kept on scoring goals. So it wasn't as easily to notice as we would have thought. So Stu, going forward, big matches coming up, big second half of the season coming up, or 3 months rather, and what's left of it. Who is our first choice right back and why?
For me, at the moment, Bradley. And I say that with a little bit of a heavy heart because I love Trent. At the end of the day, he's a Scouse lad through and through. And you always love to see your star players coming through the academy. But we got another one as well. And I actually do think that Trent's playing like sort of destiny, if you want to call it, is actually in the midfield. I don't think it is at right back. Because he's been picked apart too often playing at right back. And yeah, he does play that like sort of that high line, or as the new role, like sort of the inverted wing back, where he tucks more into the midfield, leaving that whopping great big gap behind him. But he isn't anywhere near as quick as Bradley. Bradley is rapid on that right-hand side. He is quick. So he can actually get back and cover that gap. But also the Trent and his actual passing abilities, his vision for seeing the game is more suited to be in the midfield. I think now the way he's adapted it, he's more suited to play there. But then you got to sacrifice who's going to step out of the midfield, and that I definitely don't want to answer. That's going to be down to the new manager, whoever that's going to be.
Yeah, especially when you think about potential signings in the summer. I keep seeing people argue that we still need a 6 now. Where exactly that would come in is a different conversation, and obviously it depends a lot on what the next manager wants on what next manager wants to play. So yeah, but interestingly enough, I keep seeing rumors about Florian Wirtz at coming in alongside Xabi Alonso, and I'm thinking, That would be absolutely great, but where the hell does he play? Because we are now at a point where I would actually argue that we don't need any other signings. Maybe a center back if Matip leaves as well. But again, getting ahead of ourselves. Dean, I'm going to ask you the same question. Not necessarily the easiest one of the evening, I suppose, but for the next 3 months, for the matches that we still have to play in the Premier League, title deciders, Bradley or Trent?
It's a nice question. It's a nice problem to have. Do you play a generational talent, or do you play probably the best young right back coming through at the moment? It's a tough one, isn't it? I think it's horses for courses, in all honesty. I think when you're home to your likes of Palace, your Sheffield United, you can throw Trent in and just play him at right back, in all honesty. You can get away with it. I think there's going to be certain games that suit Bradley more. He doesn't play the inverted role as he plays it differently from when I look at it. Trent, when he goes inverted, he goes up with the build-up phase, whereas Bradley tends to get into the final third a bit more in certain games inverted. I've noticed when we played against Luton, he went inverted quite a lot in the second half, but it was only in, like I say, the final third. It's hard for me to turn around and say Bradley should be ahead of Trent just because Trent is that good. But I understand the concern why, defensively, why we would choose Trent over Bradley. But there's that many games of the season. I know you're talking about the rest of this season or anything, but going forward, there is going to be that many games. You'll need both regardless. But I'll stick. It's a kind of on the fence answer, but it's very much dependent on who you're up against. I think Bradley won't be the sludge going forward at the moment because he's in form. There's no reason to take him out. So even when Trent's back, you can play him in midfield or you can just play him on the bench, as daft as that sounds. But I think he sticks with Bradley just because he's playing so well at the moment. And then, like I say, it will be horses for courses. You can either throw Trent on, or if there's going to be games where you are 100% going to dictate the game, play Trent just because he can pick out those passes.
Yeah, it is going to be quite a headache for Jurgen once everyone else is fit, because we now actually we do have the numbers now and we do have the quality, and it is going to be interesting on maybe both sides to see, because today, sorry, I don't know why I keep saying tonight, we thought that, or maybe I did, that Robo was going to start on the left hand side, but it was Gomez, which was an interesting thing to see. And now, Justin, I want to ask you as well. Okay, so the first question was Trent or Bradley, but now we see that Gomez might be ahead of Robo for the rest of the season, on at least for the left back position. So your thoughts on it, on the rest of the season, and on who plays?
That's such a difficult question because with regards to the left back role, I see that Gomez, while he has been solid for us there this season against Arsenal, and at points today, I felt as though he had some issues passing out the back from the left hand side, and especially against Arsenal, they targeted him in that role, pressing him, trying to get the ball off him, and Robertson he's more oriented to that side. So, but Robertson is just. I would personally start Robertson. I'd personally start Robertson just because he's more natural on that side. He has. I just think the play it flows better through Robertson as opposed to Gomez on the left hand side. On the right hand side, right now it's Bradley's spot to lose. And the thing is that we haven't seen Trent. We have seen Trent in the midfield this season, but has he played as a central midfielder a lot this season, as opposed to inverting into the midfield? So Trent's transition to becoming a midfielder will be very interesting, and it will. I guess it will become even more clear as we know about the new manager and how the new manager sees Trent. Does he see him as a midfielder, and does he start in that midfield ahead of natural midfielders who already established. I guess, as you said, it's a nice problem to have, but Trent is a generational talent, so we have to figure out a way to fit him in. So yeah.
Yeah, I think it's well, I'm not going to put Stu on the spot again, but as he said, I think when you think about Trent in midfield, it obviously raises the question on who misses out. And when you look at the midfield with Endo there in the sixth, and then McAllister and Soboslai next to him, it just feels wrong to take someone out of it. I mean, I think what kind of proves that point is when you think about maybe signings of the season in the Premier League overall. I think arguably you could put three of those our three midfielders in the top five, which kind of says a lot about how they've how well they've done up until now. With I think at the beginning of the season, I remember I was saying Soboslai might be a contender for signing of the season, and 2 months later it was McAllister, and now I'm starting to think Endo. It is a pleasure to see, obviously, because I think we all remember the last season and seeing the same midfield and the same lack of energy in midfield. It was quite depressing. So it's good to have this conversation now. Don't forget to leave a like, everyone, and to subscribe to the channel. Please keep on leaving your comments as well, especially on the next topic, as I want to ask Dean. We are now we have 8-9 games left now in the season, and we obviously
10 in it.
No. Well, we have quite a few games left of the season of the Premier League campaign, and we still have games to play, obviously, in the Europa League and then in the FA Cup as well. Now, as we've discussed, I think maybe in some moments today we would have preferred Jota on the end of those chances that fell to Gakpo and Diaz. Dean, I want to ask you, going forward, who is your preferred front three if everyone is fit?
Well, Salah and Nunez are nailed on, aren't they? In all honesty, it's just that left-hand side. I think if you asked me a couple of months ago, I would have said Diaz just because he adds that energy to the left-hand side. But Jota, when he has been fit, his intelligence is really shining through. That assist against Brentford was the key thing for me. Like, he didn't really do anything. I know he got injured really early on, but he was ghosting a bit in that game. But then he just pulls out an assist like that, and I think he's so important. His intelligence has got better and better the way we build up as well. He's so clinical. You just want him on the pitch all the time. It's just his fitness record is a bit questionable, but when he's fit, I think you have to start him. So for me, going forward, and even potentially into next season, if we have the manager we think we should have, he plays with two players narrow behind a striker. That front three would thrive at three narrow forwards. So for me, it'd be them three.
Yeah, I one thing that I wanted to mention before moving forward is I don't know what you guys think on Cody Gakpo and his season and his performances, but I feel like at times I think he got a lot of criticism, and maybe not all of it warranted, mainly because let's not forget he did play a few games as an 8 at the beginning of the season, which, I mean, that's not his position really, and then played quite a few matches up front through the middle, which once again, I remember him saying in an interview that he prefers to play off the left, which he didn't really get a lot of game time there this season. So I think, he's obviously a great option for me. It would be Mo Salah, Nunez, and Jota off the left. But, as you said, Dean, it depends on the match. Jota does seem to go missing quite a bit, but then just come out of nowhere like Casper the Ghost, and then just get nicks you something out of the game. Justin, your front three for the rest of the season if everyone is fit.
Darwin, Jota, Salah, easy. And I think just to add to your point, I found right before his injury, with Salah in the AFCON and injured, I felt as though Jota was getting a lot more involved in games as opposed to the past. I felt as though he was getting that rhythm and really getting more involved in the game. So I hope that's something that he can improve on, just as maybe Diaz could improve on his composure and just being more effective as a winger. Um, and maybe you could let me know if Cody's performance is that a talking point right now, or are we going to get into that a little bit later, because I have a lot to say on that.
Yeah, you can get into it now. Okay.
So Cody I've been questioning it since the beginning actually. Even when he was playing well, I just felt as though, is it that we misprofiled him as a player before he came to the club, because I just don't see how he fits. He's a good lad, great work ethic. Um, he clearly is talented, but does he fit into our squad? And that's the question that I always ask. And maybe we're seeing while it is taking an impact on his confidence. Um, is are we seeing the result of that now? Um, so yeah, that's my 2 cents on that.
Yeah, you just opened I think quite another topic that I am not ready to get into. I love Cody, so I'm not. I think he still needs the time and to still play in his preferred position. I think is just a bit of a dip in form. I think if you remember last season, Cody was actually the better player. He was actually better than Nunez was at the end of the season, the second half of the season at least. And now it feels like they've kind of switched. I just feel like when we get them both in top form, then it's going to be a lot better to judge. And obviously that's going to be quite soon. Hopefully that's going to be quite soon. Stu, last but not least, your thoughts on the preferred front three?
Again, pretty much the same. Obviously, Salah out on that right hand side. Nunez up front, because Captain Chaos is exactly that. He just causes utter mayhem for the centre backs. I was a little bit good. He was actually sub today, but I don't know whether he's picked up another injury or not. And then obviously on the left hand side, for me at the moment, it's Diaz. But like the other lad said as well, Jota was playing before he got injured. His form was incredible. Jota's form was incredible, and he can cut in off that side. Gakpo, I'm almost siding with what Justin said about it. I'm not entirely sure where he fits at the moment. I'm not doubting his ability, because when he came in, he played really, really well. And obviously, a January signing is always difficult. And he did well for that second half of that season. This season, yeah, he's been played in about 5 or 6 different positions from what I can work out in the team, which as a utility player, it's not going to be easy. It's not going to be easy to find form or anything like that. I get that. But I do think we kind of have too many players who can play out on that left-hand side. Jota, Diaz, and Gakpo all vying for that same position. And Gakpo is not a striker to cover Nunez. There was a moment in the City game today when I think it was Salah was just about he passed the ball in 18-yard area, passed the ball right across the box. Gakpo was completely on the wrong side of their centre-back who was marking him. If he was a natural striker, he would have been round the other side and it would have been a tap-in for him, a couple of yards out. Dead easy. He's not a natural striker, so you can't see him as a genuine cover for Nunez. He could play out on the right-hand side for Salah. Yeah, no problem. Like I say, he could play across all 3 parts quite capably, but his natural position is where Diaz and Jota usually play on. So now he or the new manager as well have got to figure out where he is going to fit in. And that, I don't know. I really don't know on that one, to be fair.
Yeah, it is going to be tough. And as you said, it's probably another headache for the next manager to work out. I still have faith in Cody Gakpo, and I think
yeah.
he'll get into the form that he once was in. So yeah, let me just remove Stu and Justin from this meeting. Then no, sorry. No, yeah, it's just honestly Cody Gakpo as the end of the last season was one of my favorite players, and it's kind of it's hard to accept criticism on regarding him, but yeah, I think today as well when he had the chance, in the box, he basically got the ball at his feet, and it was just 1 or 2 seconds I think before he got the ball away from it, but those 2 seconds were one of the longest that I've had in all my life. I just went like this in front of the TV, and I thought it was actually gonna go in. I don't know, I just felt it, but yeah, my feelings were once again wrong. So yeah, moving forward then. Thank you everyone who's liked, subscribed up until now. Keep on doing so, please. Thank you. Justin, now 3 days rest up until the second leg against Sparta Prague, and then I think on Sunday we're gonna play United at the Old Trafford. Now we're gonna play Sparta at 8 p.m. UK time, and we're gonna play United on Sunday afternoon. Quite the quick turnaround. I think we've kind of secured a good lead going into the second leg, and we're probably gonna play enough youngsters. Your thoughts on who should play against Sparta and on who would just start at Old Trafford at the weekend?
It's interesting. I would play I'll play the kids. I would give hopefully we can see Dan's get his first start. I'm really excited about him. I think he's a top talent. James McConnell, Bobby Clark. When are we going to see Bacic? 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 Safford.
Bajcetic, I think, yeah.
Yeah, I'll play the kids. I can't really. Kwanzaa, but our defense is really who may need the rest because we are able to rotate midfield options, the forward line a little bit more. We have a little bit more flexibility there as opposed to the defense who starts at centre back. Because we only have 2 centre backs right now. Am I correct? Well, 3 if you count Gomez.
So, yeah, it depends on who's going to be fit, I think. So I don't know about Konate. I assume he should be fit for the weekend at least. So.
Oh well. Well, yeah, that I'm going with the kids. I'm gonna try and rotate as much. I'm not gonna. We don't really need to take it that seriously. I mean, it's at Anfield too. We already have a 4. With already 4 goals up. It's not that important, and we rest for Sunday. And I'm going with a full strength team. Whoever's the strongest available, I will definitely go with them.
Yeah, I think when you think about it, I think it was we were a bit lucky to win 5-1 in Prague on Thursday. I think when you look at it, on another day they could have scored 2 or 3. They could have they actually had pretty good chances, and we've scored some goals that we normally wouldn't have. I think Nunez was at his I think he had his best Jota impression in that game. Had the 2 chances, scored the 2 goals. Wasn't like a typical Nunez performance. So overall, I think we were lucky to win 5-1. Is that a reason of concern, Dean? Still a 4-goal lead, even with the kids. I'm guessing we get through that easily. Yeah.
You'd say so. There'll always be that small doubt in the back of the mind, even in the coaching staff. You concede 1 or 2 goals in the first half, and it starts going. This starts getting worrying now. Still, I think we're going to play quite a few kids. I think Clark. Well, I say kids. They aren't really kids anymore. They go like Clark and McConnell. I think we'll get games. I wouldn't be sure. Well, Gakpo, I think will start. I think he needs form. Needs minutes again to get some confidence. Simicast will play left back, I imagine. think Kwanzaa will get 90 minutes because if Konate's fit for Sunday, which Klopp has said he has a good chance of being fit, so I'd play Konate against United. Kwanzaa, I'd been put Gomez at centre back just for half a game against Sparta Prague. It's just a question then, who do you play right back? You might have to ask Bradley play 45 minutes because I don't think we've got anybody else. So that is obviously a worry to a point. Calla still starts for me. I know a couple of the group chat won't be best pleased with that because of risking any injury, but I still want the goalie in there. Other than that, I would like Dan's to start because, in all honesty, he's had more of an impact. I'm not trying to slag Gakpo off. I do like him as a footballer, but Dan's had a bigger impact.
I knew
Sorry,
it.
mate. I do like Gakpo a lot. This is the problem with Gakpo. He's a bridge between Klopp 1.0 and 2.0. He has the arrogance of Firmino, but he doesn't have the intensity of Nunez. He's a bridge. That's his awkward problem. So hopefully he finds his own way in his form again. I would say Elliott plays, but my lord, he's clocked up that many miles in this last month. He could be a sub. I think you'll see one experienced midfielder in there with McConnell and Clark just to guide them through the game. I would love Bajcetic to be on the bench. I think if he's going to play any part this season, it is going to be this game as a sub, because it's towards the end of the season, you need your fittest, freshest, best team out, and he's had a no game time bar about 40 minutes earlier this season. So hopefully he can get 10, 15 minutes coming off the bench. That'd be ideal. And then there's a case of, do you give Salah a bit more game time as a sub? And then there's also a case of, do you play Gordon, who hasn't really featured at all, in all honesty. So there'll be a rotation, but I don't think it'll be 11 kids out on the pitch because we still got to do the job. We still got to get one goal, maybe just Achilles off completely. Because if you can see one or two early goals, the doubts start getting bigger, and then you don't want the kids to suffer that. So I think give anyone who needs minutes, get them fresh for United, and then go from there. But in regards to United, it's full squad, and it's Kelleher. I would start Robertson personally, but then have Van Dijk, Konate, Bradley, Endo, Maka, Szoboszlai, and then Diaz, Salah, and Nunez, providing everyone's fit and fresh. Probably the one question mark being Robert, do you play him or Gomez on that side? But United, touch wood, they're rubbish, aren't they? They're shite. They are poor. They should have lost 3-0 to Everton, but Everton are shite as well. So at the end of the day, as long as we turn up and play like half the amount we played today, if we just turn up half as good as we played today, we'll win. It's down to the lads to turn up. So yeah, that would be my two teams going into the break.
Pleasure to be a Liverpool fan now, isn't it? When you can take the piss out of United and Everton at the same time, they're just as shit, both of them. Yeah, but it's still going to be a derby, obviously. So it's in seriousness now, I think it is going to be a tough game, especially as the main problem, I think, and you've also talked about it, Dean. We've had a lot of players play a lot of minutes recently, obviously because of the injuries, and now even against Sparta, when you play, when you try and rotate a bit, we still have to throw in 4 or 5 players who played a lot. And Kwanzaa and Bradley, both of them at the beginning of the season, we thought they were maybe going to play 2-3 games tops during the whole season, and look at them now, and to play them every game might be a bit much. I know they're younger, so they should have more energy, but then at the same time, it's a lot more complicated than that. So on one hand, we can't afford any other injuries. On the other hand, we need to to obviously try and go as far as you can in pretty much every competition, because I don't know about you, I'm not as excited to get into the FA Cup semifinals as I am to beat United again, because it's just, after suffering for the past 20-30 years, I think it's always a pleasure to get wins over him. 4-0, 5-0, 7-0, doesn't really matter. All of them are welcomed, even the 1-0s. We'll take a 1-0 as well on Sunday. Stu, I'm going to ask you as well on your thoughts on who plays against Sparta Prague and at the weekend as well.
Again, I think Klopp's gonna not play it safe as such, but probably do a mix of experience and kids for the first half, like we did on Thursday night. see the game out in the first half, get a couple of goals, hopefully, be 2-3-0 up by half time, and then swap the experienced guys out so they can get a little bit more of a rest. Because what I would like to see is pretty much a full strength starting 11 against United. Obviously, I know a couple of the players aren't going to be back. So Keller in goal, then your back two of Konate and Van Dijk with Bradley right back, and then I would say Robertson the left back with Endo, McAllister, and Szoboszlai in the midfield with Diaz, Nunez, and Salah starting. So we've got a strong team going against United, showing that we ain't going to be messing around and we're going to punish them. The only way to do that, obviously, is to play a few of the kids on Thursday, which I'm more than happy with because they've shown that they can repay the faith that Klopp's put into them quite easily. I think that'll be the general plan that he's thinking of, and obviously the United games before the international break. So you don't want any silly injuries. You want to make sure everybody gets through, so that international break can give a few of your players a rest who obviously aren't going away at that time. But also a couple of the injured players who are in your squad are due back after that for the big crunch time of the season. The likes of Alisson, Trent, Bajicic, and there's one other as well. So they're all looking at coming back after that international break, which is massive for us. It's huge. That's how I think sort of Klopp's probably going to be thinking exactly the same as he did on Thursday night. He planned it out for this game, so we had a strong team for today, and it worked. Yeah, we got lucky on Thursday for a couple of chances, but it just so happens that Sparta Prague's goalkeeper was missing his hands that night, apparently. So let's hope for more of the same.
Yeah, it's the imminent Cody Gakpo brace on a Thursday. I can feel it. You can feel it as well. You know it's coming. Well, too much pressure. A brace would be just fine. We'll take a brace as well. I don't know about you, but for me, it's like it was this week before the Sparta match. You have that game on Thursday, but all you can think about is the weekend. I just want to see us get the win against United because I just hate going into games when we're massive favorites. I think we've seen that at Anfield against them as well. It doesn't always work in your favor, and you expect them to be shit, but then they are. But then they can just turn up one evening, and it gets a bit more complicated than that. So it's obviously going to be a tough game, but honestly wouldn't have it any other way. It's kind of like we've gotten over it. We've basically battered them on quite a lot of on the last few meetings. So a close one, as long as we win, is more than welcomed as well. I think we're gonna leave it here, everyone. Thank you very much for hopping in. Thank you very much to Justin, to Dean, and to Stu for giving their thoughts and for being here on this lovely Sunday evening. To everyone else, make sure to like, subscribe, and to come back. We are going to be streaming every night at 7:30 p.m. UK time. See you tomorrow. Up the Reds.